Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to Utility Sports. Today, we're going to be taking a look at some of the recent trade rumors circling around Andre Drummond, the Cleveland Cavaliers center. And this is one of the first trade rumors of the year. Obviously, we had the James Harden stuff earlier on, but now, as we start to approach the trade deadline, that is March 25th, here now on February 15th, we look at Andre Drummond and the Cleveland Cavaliers agreeing to both sit him out of games. He will still be playing with the team, probably doing some practice stuff and being around the team, but he will no longer play with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He has played 33 career games with the Cavaliers since being traded there from the Detroit Pistons last year for a 2023 second-round pick, Brandon Knight, and a little bit of extra throw-in pieces. That deal for the Cleveland Cavaliers looks like it is going to pan out. They're probably going to get slightly better return than they gave up for Andre Drummond. Now, talking about Andre Drummond, though, he's having a pretty solid year. He's not shooting very well from the field, only about 48%, which isn't a terrible number for most players, but for a center like him, he should be shooting a little bit higher percentage. However, his free throw percentage is up back around 60%. That's a positive sign for teams that are going to be looking to acquire him. It's not down around that dreadful 40% that we've seen for him in the past. And he's averaging about 17 points a game, 14 rebounds, over a steal and a half a game, over a block a game. That's some rare production from a center here, someone who's getting in the passing lanes, protecting the rim, and is the best rebounder in the NBA, to be completely honest with you. There isn't a single guy one-on-one that I would trust to get a rebound more than Andre Drummond. He uses his body extremely well, and he's going to be very valuable for some of these contending teams. But there is one little hiccup when you're looking at trades centered around Andre Drummond, bringing him in. One of those hiccups being, is he that much of a game-changing player? I think in a right system, he very much could be a game-changing player, but he has to have the right talent around him. You need very talented players to surround Andre Drummond. He's not going to be a guy that comes in and fills up, the crowd, fills up the seats, but with his talent. He's not going to be a guy that can get his own shot off in the half court consistently. His talent really comes in as a second chance point guy on both ends. He can either limit second chance points for the other team by securing defensive rebounds, getting good box outs, and hitting guys out in transition as an outlet passer. And then also on the offensive end, he's a guy who can chase down second chance points. He's got a little bit of a post touch. He's consistent around the rim. He's got good touch around the rack, but he's not going to be a go-to guy offensively. So you need to be having a team that already has that go-to guy in place, because otherwise Andre Drummond, you're not going to make a move for him just to come in and rebound for a team that's a lower level team, unless they plan on bringing him back next season, which is another one of those hiccups. This is the final year of his deal. He's making around $28 million, and that's a really tough sell for some of these teams. Some of these lower-end teams, are they going to want to take a rental on a guy who might just walk? I don't really see that as a likely situation. Andre Drummond probably wants to land with a contender. I think that would be his hope this offseason. I think he wants to get into some playoff minutes and showcase what he could bring to an NBA team so he can get a big contract this offseason in free agency. Does that big contract out there exist for him? I'm not certain on that yet, but this is his best chance to get that big contract, go play for a winner, and really showcase what he can bring. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, this makes all the sense in the world too. Remember, they brought in Jarrett Allen. He's going to be their franchise center moving forward. And the reasoning why is because he's younger, he's athletic, he fits everything that they're trying to do there in Cleveland time-wise. And I really like what he can bring. I think he can very well be a top 10 center in the NBA with what he brings as a rim protector, a rim runner, can function really well as a screen and roll guy. And I think that there's some growth there yet for him on the offensive end of the floor. Remember, he's a very young player yet at this point. I think that they got a very good deal on only giving up a low-end first in that 4-team trade with the Houston Rockets, Brooklyn Nets, and Indiana Pacers when they brought in Jarrett Allen in that deal. So now looking at Drummond's $28 million, what teams really have the means to get there, and what teams are going to be interested in trying to get there? One team I know that's going to be interested is the Toronto Raptors. However, do they have a pathway of getting there? I'm not sold on that necessarily. You're probably looking at Aaron Baines going out. That's about $7 million, but you still have to get to about that $22 million mark to really make something work. You're maybe looking at Norman Powell and a low-end throw-in like O'Shea Brissett. Now, that seems like a little bit too much value to give up for Andre Drummond if I'm the Toronto Raptors on his expiring deal. You could also look at maybe a 3-team deal in which Kyle Lowry gets sent out the door for a draft pick or two to a team that really wants him. You bring back Andre Drummond, you stay competitive, hand the keys over to Fred VanVleet as your starting point guard long term. However, I don't know if I see that in the cards either. I think the Toronto Raptors, there's a couple ways that they could get there, but I don't think any of those really jump out to me as the most sensible move for them at this point. Another team that I think could have legit interest in Andre Drummond for this season is the New York Knicks. Mitchell Robinson just underwent surgery 2 days ago, and now he's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks at least. That is a big part of the season. Remember, the Knicks just had made a move for Derrick Rose, trying to get back into that playoff spot, probably 6 to 8 seed. And Andre Drummond would go a long way in helping them try and get there, especially with the absence of Mitchell Robinson. They need someone to come in and eat those center minutes. Andre Drummond's going to do that. He's only playing about 28 minutes a game this year. He's going to be rested because they're not playing him in games any longer. He could come in, have an immediate impact, and help get a team into the playoffs that's right on the borderline spot right there. One other team I think makes a lot of sense is the Washington Wizards. If they could buy low on Andre Drummond, they badly need a center. Thomas Bryant is out as well at this point. However, the money gets a little difficult there. They're paying max money on Bradley Beal, max money on Russell Westbrook. The money is going to be the big holdup here on a lot of these teams, is how do they get to a point where they can really afford to even bring in Andre Drummond in one of these deals? I just don't see it likely for a lot of these teams. I think that the Wizards would be very interested in adding Drummond the player, but I don't know if the contract is overcomable for them in this deal. Also, now a team that I think is really, really likely in looking to make a move for Andre Drummond is going to be the Dallas Mavericks. I think that they're going to be very aggressive in pursuit of Andre Drummond this trade deadline. And my reasoning is Rick Carlisle has a heavy pick and roll system, and right now the Mavericks do not have a heavy pick and roll center, someone that can really fit into what they're trying to do. Dwight Powell just hasn't been the same player off his torn Achilles. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is just the truth. Maxi Kleber, he can stretch the floor a little bit, but he doesn't give you what Andre Drummond does on the glass, and that's something the Mavericks badly need. Mavericks are getting out-rebounded pretty consistently. They need to find a way to improve that defense, and one of those ways is getting more defensive rebounds, securing the end of possessions, and limiting second-chance points. Andre Drummond, like I said earlier, is elite at that. He is the best in the NBA when it comes to rebounding on the defensive glass, in my opinion, and he would be a good grab for the Dallas Mavericks, not only defensively, but he fits into the offensive scheme as well. You can run that double high pick with a fade with Kristaps. You can have a roller in Drummond. He's got good hands, can catch around the rim. I really like what he could bring to the Dallas Mavericks. Now, what would it look like to get him? Maybe you're looking at Dwight Powell going out, a second-round pick, maybe 2 second-round picks, and possibly, some salary cap fill-in. Whoever that's going to be, that's yet to be seen. But there's some options there from the Dallas Mavericks to make that deal work financially. And finally, one other team that I think should consider going after Andre Drummond, not that I think that they will, but I really think they should, is actually the Milwaukee Bucks. Brook Lopez, he's deteriorated a little bit. He's not playing as well as he did 2 years ago when he first got to Milwaukee. And I think that there's a little bit of room for improvement there when it comes to that second unit as well for the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, I know you guys are probably saying, well, spacing. Yes, I get that. But Andre Drummond with Giannis Antetokounmpo on the floor, there is not a single team in the East that can match up with that physicality, especially the team that they're going to have to really worry about getting over, the Brooklyn Nets. They don't have an answer for that. The Brooklyn Nets have been playing one center this year in DeAndre Jordan since they traded Jarrett Allen, and they've been playing the small lineup with Jeff Green playing the 5, Kevin Durant sometimes playing the 5. That ain't going to cut it against Andre Drummond. That's not going to cut it against Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, the two of them together on the floor, you're looking at consistent mismatches. I know the defensive end of the floor gets a little questionable for Milwaukee there, but they have a good team defense set in place. Mike Budenholzer gets the most out of them, and I think that physicality could provide some issues for other teams. Right now, the way I look at it, Milwaukee's not winning the championship this year unless they make some type of move, and that move might have to be a buy low option on Andre Drummond. He's really cheap to bring in. You're not going to have to give up a whole bunch of assets. Remember, they don't have assets really because of the Drew Holiday trade. He's one of the only players that they're going to be able to acquire. And then the nice thing is he kind of helps you with the salary cap because you bring him in. You don't have to commit to him long-term. He's expiring. You can move on from him if it doesn't work out there in Milwaukee. I think he's a nice buy low option for the Milwaukee Bucks. I'd love to hear what you guys think, who you think Andre Drummond could be playing for by the end of this season. If he doesn't get traded for, he will be a buyout candidate as well. that'll be something worth monitoring. We'll see what teams are willing to give up for Andre Drummond. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you slap that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe. We just hit 1,900 subscribers, so it'd be awesome if we could add one more to the count, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.